What's going on, guys? It's Red Bull Tanker, and welcome back to another playthrough of historical board gaming's The Korean War. Um, as many of you know, I had found some other rules by a guy by the name of Imperious Leader. I played his rules through Operation Roundabout, and now we're back with basically combining some of his rules with our rules. And for our introduction, I figured I would go over what I added to the what I incorporated. So for for mine and Airsoft Commando's updated rules, what we added. So we added the 38 turns. However, we did keep it where you have to conquer territory, not IPC. I kept this. I kept the setup issue, so the forces that normally start in Kusong will now start up here, in what is that? Chongjin. That's all the same. Some units. So, here's some of the units that we have. Regular infantry, Chinese infantry. The only reason why they're separate is because they cost a little less. They cost an IPC less, so I'm keeping that part of the rule. Let's see here. Bringing in we're keeping self-propelled artillery. We did add in his added unit of tank destroyers. And tank destroyers, they cost 5. They can move 2. They attack with on a D6. They attack on a 3 and defend on a 2. And I'll explain what these parentheses numbers are in a little bit. In his updated rule, in Imperious Leader's rules, all aircraft and all Navy ships could be purchased by all sides. I have actually gone through and limited it a little bit. I limited choppers to the U.S. and the UN, as well as strategic bombers to the U.S. and UN, along with air transports, battleships, and carriers. But everything else, everyone else can purchase. One thing that I've changed as well, or that I took from his rules, is that the infantry get a +1 when matched with a tank or air unit. They no longer get the +1 for artillery. Let's see here. Mech infantry, change it up a little bit. They can either carry 1 infantry or 3 supply, or 1 infantry and 1 supply. They can still move 2. Let's see. Keeping the idea that artillery and self-propelled artillery, they can do the attrition attacks. And down here, I am going to be playing the our terrain blitz rules. So if a self-propelled artillery is matched with a mech or a tank, they can blitz. Also doing the what do you want to call it? The first strike with artillery, keeping that. Or I brought that over. What else did I bring over? I brought over that tanks can attrition attack at 2 instead of 1. I brought over. Let's see here. Let's see here. I kept the air. So again, air transports for the U.S. and the UN. They can carry 2 infantry or 5 supply tokens, or 1 infantry and 3 supply tokens. I kept the combat air mission. So aerial combat, defender combat, close air support. So aerial combat. This is if the enemy decides to scramble from a nearby territory. You fight there's an air battle that's fought along with the ground fight, and then you can do the defensive ones as well. Other rules that are coming in, I am taking out the that Seoul can deploy 10 units. We're going back to the original. We're going back to my rules where Seoul can only produce 4. The rest of the factories can produce 10. And no other factories may be built. I'm adding in the defender's retreat, so defenders can retreat if they want to. And then these are the rolls they have to get in order to actually escape or to see what else happens. Excuse me. Oh, I just realized I have 2 things for industrial complexes. Whoopsies. That's okay. China. So China, we're going to keep we're going to try our part of the rules where China is still active throughout the game, except until they come into the war, they only get 10 IPC to use. Even though the Chinese entry into the war, I have it as Imperious Leaders rules, where once either the Allies cross the 38th or the date of October 1950 comes around, we start rolling for the Chinese to come in. I'm going to play with that, but I am also still going to play with our if the North Koreans control Seoul for 3 turns, they can start rolling for Chinese entry as well. So I'm going to play with both. And then I'm still going to play where once China does come in, instead of going up to 35 IPC, they only get 25 IPC to play with. Okay, so even though I dismissed it a lot, I am going to try a supply track this game. But the supply track is cut down to only 4 spaces. There are some American units that will be there are some Allied units and supply that will be starting on the supply track. And then also with resupply, we have starting supply on the board starting. And then let's see here. I'm keeping the rule for South Korea. As long as South Korea controls Seoul, their units and supply tokens do not need to come by the supply track. They can be deployed immediately within South Korea. Alright, so then like I said, the optional rules we're going to play with. We are going to play with the terrain rule, which will allow for blitzing. However, if any mech, self-propelled guns, tanks, or tank destroyers are moving in the mountainous regions, here they can only move 1 space. But if they are here in the green, they can blitz. This territory is kind of half and half, so I'm just going to say that this territory is a mountain territory, so you can't blitz through Cheonju. Winter weather, I am going to play with this. So for the turns that are December, January, February, and March, all land unit is restricted to 1. So even like mech infantry, all of it, everyone can only move 1 space, and no amphibious assaults may be conducted during the winter months. Bridges, we are going to play with our bridge rule. So the Chinese need these bridges in order to move their forces into Korea. The bridges may be strategically bombed. The bridges do have an inherent to AAA, and if there are fighters in any of the surrounding territories, they can scramble to defend. If a bridge is damaged at all, it reduces the Chinese ability to move. They can only move 6 units across a bridge if the bridge is damaged, and then they have to pay 1 IPC to pay off the damage to that. I am gonna use this atomic weaponry roll. I have put into here an atomic bomb marker. So once the game reaches January 1951, the U.S., if they want to try and use nukes, they can. Or I guess they. So yeah, the U.S. player may introduce atomic weaponry to the war. Roll 1 die with a result of 4+ on the D6. It allows the U.S. to buy up to 34 atomic weapons at 6 IPC each, and they can be used in the game. Like I said, since it's a D12, you can play a D12 option in this game, and anything that shows like results will be in these parentheses. So like going back. Whoops. So the self-propelled artillery with a D6 attacks at a 2, with a D12 it attacks on a 3. With playing the atomic weaponry, it does bring in some Soviet stuff. So first, this Soviet support. So during the Korean War, the U.S. Air Force was not allowed to go and bomb targets inside China. In this game, the U.S. can. However, if they do, the while the Soviets will not enter as a playable faction yet, they will boost China's IPC by 10. So then China will go up to its 35 IPC here. And then if the Americans do use atomic weaponry, then the Soviets will come in as a playable faction and they will deploy with. They'll start the game. They'll come into the game with 6 mech, 6 fighters, 3 bombers, 12 supply tokens, and we'll have 35 IPC. And I have the Soviets set up over here. What the freak happened here? Whoa, hello. Whoa, it is tweaking. That was weird. But okay. Good lord. That was wild. Okay, and then on this card here, I have the Soviet Far East Command right here, which is just sitting pretty right there. And then if the Soviets do come in, any further purchases, they also have to come by the supply track to represent the Soviet forces moving from the European Soviet Union over to the Soviet Far East. So that's pretty much it. And then I didn't even mention it at the beginning of the game, but this game will be titled Operation Radar as a nod to the TV show MASH, which I actually currently have playing right now, and it might be coming through on the mic if you've heard. So, yes, we have Operation Radar, and that will begin soon. So, stay tuned, guys, and I hope you hope you guys stick around, watch it, and give it a go. So, until next time, guys, as always, take care.